All right, guys, let's connect it up. Today, February 25th, 2024, coming at you to talk about The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live, Season 1, Episode 1, and a little bit of 2. Spoiler warning, obviously, if you're watching on the replay, it says spoilers all over the place, but if for some reason you're worried about spoilers, stop watching now, because we're going to talk about the episode. Watched it this morning. Awesome stuff. I feel it's what World Beyond should have been. Not that nonsense that we saw there. You know, and it stinks because right now, as I make this live stream, it's one season of 6 episodes. And it should easily be 2 seasons of 6 episodes, or 2 seasons of 10 episodes each, so 20 episodes together. But it's not right now. It's just season 1, episode 1 is what we've seen. So again, don't really put any spoilers in the chat right now. We're going to talk 15 minutes or so before any spoilers, and then we'll talk about the last 45 minutes for spoilers. So overall, again, no spoilers in the chat just yet, but I'm excited. It's a great episode, right? It was definitely awesome. If you saw it, what do you think? No spoilers, but let me know in there. See what you got for it too. So overall, it's just exciting. It's good to see Michonne and Rick on the screen and stuff. You know, like, it's just awesome. Like, I mean, it just feels right. You know, seeing Rick Grimes, right? Like, watching it, and you're just like, Rick is back. And it just feels like The Walking Dead. It feels right. Even though the story is different and it's got that feel of, you know, uncharted territory, non-comic stuff just for the show. The show is the show. The comic is the comic. And the spinoff is the spinoff, you know? So overall, guys, hope you're doing well. Fight for Us, I made it, tells you last live stream. Fight for Us, The End is up on Amazon. I was thinking about it, guys. If you are on Amazon, you can search my name. I'm an author on there, and you can follow me. You can like and follow and all that good stuff there, too. Check out the Fight for Us series on Amazon Kindle or paperback. All 20 books are available now on Amazon, and that's pretty awesome stuff. So what else are we watching? We're finishing up Succession. I think we got like 2 episodes left, and I'm ready for that to be done. Just nonsense. Just dumb writing. It's just a stupid show. Like, I don't know why people liked it so much. It's just a waste of 4 seasons. Like, it's the same stuff. Nothing happens. It was just like nonsense. But I've got to finish to see what happens. It was kind of like Fear the Walking Dead, right? Like, utter nonsense for 8 seasons. But I have to see how it finishes. I have to see how it is done. So overall, hope you're doing well. I was excited to talk about the episode, and I am. Again, we'll talk about the episode in about 12 minutes. So overall, have you seen any movies, any shows, anything else? What are you watching? What else have we watched? A Little People, Big World came back on for its 25th season, I believe, which is crazy. Because it's reality television. It's not scripted, somewhat. I'm sure some of it's got to be whatever over the 25 seasons. But, man, I just remember watching that too. No, I didn't watch Elimination Chamber. Again, I don't really care too much about wrestling, except for Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, and like SummerSlam. Those are the 3 things that I'll kind of watch a little bit too. Hard Nixie says soon March Madness. That's right. So next week, starting Friday, is March 1st. We have leap year, which is Thursday, the 29th. And for some people who don't know why we have leap year, I believe, I could be wrong, but it's because we have 365 days a year, but it's actually 365 and a quarter days a year. So every 4 years, it has to be the day to make up for that quarter. So that's why we have leap years every so many years, I believe. That's what I've come to know over the years, and I believe that's why we have leap year. If I'm wrong, please let me know in the chat. Zenith, no, I mean, that episode 2 is not out. It's not on AMC Plus. So there's been some leaks. And again, we'll talk about that, much more in 10 minutes. We'll start with the spoiler stuff. But there's been a lot of leaks online, a lot of stuff. I made a video about it, and then it got copyrighted and blah, 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 and got taken. Well, it's up, I believe, but it's being blocked, and it's partially blocked, I think. 2 of my recent videos were partially blocked because there was a lot of photos and, whereas there was video of what happens in the episodes. And then it's like, what is episode 1, episode 2, episode that? But we saw episode 1 today, and it was great and amazing. And then we see a preview for next week's episode. We saw in the behind the episode with Gimple, Andy talks a little bit, and so does Deny. And also, I believe Pearl Thorne, Leslie, I forget what her name is, but who plays Thorne, she talks as well. And overall, the new characters are good. It just works. I mean, it just works. That's all I can say without giving spoilers, because it's just great to see Rick, and they connect the dots again with stuff, and it's pretty cool. Nah, Brian, I thought the episode was good. I mean, yeah, there was some, and I'll talk about it there too. Like some things were, if you think about it a little, but it is what it is. It's fictional. It's not. I'm not trying to get too crazy with the overthinking, getting that too. That's going to be enough people breaking it down and enough people saying how bad it is. Yeah, Leslie Ann Brandt. Thank you, Marcel. Yeah, Leslie. She does. She's a character that is like I could see being good, but to me is a little annoying. Like, it's a little too much. But it has to be kind of that way because they can't just go everything, for Rick. They just can't, right? I mean, it could, but Virginia asks, who watched the Daryl Dixon series? I did, of course, and probably everyone in here. So the first episode is really good for the ones who live. And it sets up a lot of things. It answers questions right in the first, I think it's like 55 minutes. So the runtime was totally right with it. Less than an hour. But the preview for next week's plus the inside the episode takes it just over an hour. The intro, so I'm going to already have ideas for videos coming up this week. And I'm going to wait to post them till tomorrow and throughout the week. But I already have some ideas. I'm thinking, should I do my review tonight? Should I post it tonight? Because I think I want to. And then I already have some ideas to break down some stuff that I caught in the episode, and there's some callbacks and Easter eggs and connections. And hopefully you saw World Beyond. I mean, you really don't need to watch Fear the Walking Dead, but you definitely have to watch World Beyond to understand it a little bit more here too. It's not, I mean, I don't know. I've seen it. So has everyone watched World Beyond in here? Because they answer some stuff. They connect the dots a little bit too. And it's definitely something. Yeah. So, I mean, I know it's tough because there's a lot of people posting the episode all over the place. And so it was really weird. Like come like Wednesday or Thursday this past week, people were talking about, this episode. Here's episode 1. Here's episode 2. And I'm like, whoa. That's kind of crazy that the first 2 episodes, people have watched them already. I know the reviewers have, but that's common. But the average person, and then they're posting this, and then I think AMC posted the beginning, the intro of it, and then the opening credits are kind of posted. But the initial opening is like nothing. Like it tells you not a lot at all. And the opening is pretty cool because it's different. It connects the dots. So you can kind of watch that and not really be spoiled. But as from the other stuff, like it's pretty spoiled. And then they're talking about this. And then I saw clips from episode 2, I believe. Well, I saw some clips from like future episode. And it has to be episode 2 from the way the one ended. The first one ended into 2. And again, I don't want to talk about that just yet. I'm going to give 6 minutes or so, 5 or 6 more minutes before we take into the spoilers. But yeah, I was like, wow. And the clips are kind of all over. And then they're up and they're taken down, and they're up and they're taken down, and they're this, and then it's just, and then I got some pictures and I put them up, and Then that got, so AMC and YouTube, they're trying to combat. And it's probably on Twitter and everything too. I know it's kind of popping up all the time. And so I don't care about spoilers. I don't know where episode 2 should come out next week, Zenith. I mean, episode 2 is leaked somewhere there, and people were saying they saw it. But they didn't play the first 2 episodes on AMC Plus. It was just the first episode, which is like, okay, so you watch the first 2 episodes, hurry up, and then wait, and then what do you do next week? You'll be ahead of the game, kind of thing, right? So, but I've seen like parts of episode 2 and parts of this and parts of that. So again, I'll talk about that in about 5 minutes. So overall, I enjoyed it, and hopefully you did as well. And it's just awesome to see, Rick and Michonne in the Walking Dead universe. And then you get to see stuff expanded, right? So CRM has always been this outlier thing that connected the show or shows and universe. And it's just for the show. There's nothing to do with the comic. This is a Gimple and writers thing for the show and the universe of that. I don't know how involved Kirkman is, and I could care less. But I do know that CRM, we get some answers. And when I'm watching the episode, I feel like this should have been World Beyond. Now, some of the stuff in World Beyond was answered in this, and it wasn't. It was kind of annoying. Again, that was 20 episodes. That was like way too many episodes for that nonsense. That should have been 6 episodes. Or 2 seasons of 6 or 10 episodes. Or 2 seasons of 6 episodes would have been fine. So 12 instead of 20. I want more of this. I already want more of Rick and Michonne. Just watching it, all I can think of, part of me, like a small part of it even, is like, man, it's not going to be enough. It's not going to be enough of the episode, the characters. Like we've waited forever. Like Rick left so many years ago. Not even in like the Walking Dead universe timeline, actual years. It's like, it's crazy. And then he came back at the end of The Walking Dead with the little scenes there. And they talk about that. They address that, which is good. That's what we want. We want answers. And they're giving them to us. We're getting answers already in the first episode, which is great too. So, Jonathan Wilder, Q&A. Are you going to do spoilers on today's live? If so, I have to leave because... Well, yeah, John. So in 3 minutes, spoilers. And when I say spoiler warning, spoilers, and then you stay in the chat and you stay in the stream, I'm going to talk about the episode in 2 minutes and 15 seconds because I want to talk about it. I got a lot to talk about, and I'm excited to talk about it. So again, set your timer, and I'll give you adequate time to talk about it too. So. No, I think I don't really believe too much about that, Marcel, but we'll see. There is some stuff I want to break down the opening in another video. So again, I'm going to talk about a bunch of stuff and videos coming up this week, and I'm excited to talk about it, guys. It feels like The Walking Dead again. Like the Daryl show felt like The Walking Dead, but like not really. Like it was such an outlier. CRM all they have to do is have CRM be connected with the French connection there, the France story arc. And we haven't really seen it at all in the first season of the Daryl show. Like, it's really hard to believe that CRM doesn't know or have any connections with. I know they want to be secretive, and they're all about secrets. That's clearly evident. Have any connection with the Commonwealth, the CRM and the Commonwealth, right? They should know about each other. Also, the Negan stuff, there should be some helicopters flying around. That's all we need. That's all. Because especially if Rick's in Philadelphia, I don't know if you know any part of the United States, but New York City and New Jersey and the Northeast, they're pretty close. They're not like right on top of each other, but Philadelphia and New York is pretty close on the map. And so you should be able to get there. Or have some sort of connection point with it. And hopefully they will at some point. Season 2 of Dead City is going to start filming I think it's April 8th. Let me see if that's a Monday. And it is. So I believe the word is April 8th starts Dead City Season 2 filming in Massachusetts is the word. So if you're in Massachusetts or you're around Massachusetts or you want to get up there for filming, be ready to go around April is the word. That's what's going there too. All right, guys. So here we go. We got season 1, episode 1, and a little bit of 2 of The Walking Dead Ones Who Live. Spoiler warning. Leave the chat, the stream, everything now. If you are worried about spoilers, I don't want to ruin it for you. But 3, 2, 1, spoilers. So, Rick, it starts with Rick looking out his window at the windmills that are generating power for the CRM of the Civic Republic of Philadelphia. And then you see something on the screen, and it's some footage of Omaha, campus colony area stuff. You know, I think it's Omaha, I believe is what it is. But it's now you're getting caught up in the timeline. It jumps around a little bit. Then you have the opening credit. Rick has a piece of glass. It's kind of hard to see what he actually is holding in his hand at first. And it's like it looks like a bottle. It looks like a vial, but it's a piece of glass that you find out later what happened. So they jump around a little bit, and it's answered, but he's going to take himself out. And he puts the glass on his neck, and he's going to, commit suicide. But he stops, and he cuts his skin a little bit, and he bleeds a little bit, but that's it. And I believe that's the opening. And so then it jumps to the opening, and you see Rick, Michonne, the ones who live, jumps around, blah, 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 blah. If you look closely on the opening, too, you see a map of the United States. You see Portland, Omaha, CRP, Philadelphia. And then down here in Texas, there's a radiation symbol with circles that connects with Fear the Walking Dead, which is pretty cool. But I'll break down the opening in another video. So then it starts 5 years after the bridge. So we don't even see Rick when he gets to the CRM. We don't even see Rick getting operated on. We don't see Rick any of that stuff at all. It's just him doing stuff, and he goes in. So there's a fire in the woods, and it's burning up. It looks probably some colony or something. I don't know what it's supposed to be, but it looks like people were living there. And then there's a helicopter, a CRM helicopter that goes there. And then it touches down, and then we see the CRM soldiers in this. So there's a consignment thing where they're consigners. So they're people trying to work their way up to get into the Civic Republic, the CRM. You have to work there for 6 years at least to get in. And so Rick is there with Thorne and a couple other people in the CRM jackets. And he's got a hatchet or an axe, whatever you want to call it. And he's got the tether thing around his wrist. It's like a metal handcuff that is to a line. And he's the only one that has that. So they go out and they have these red lights and they shine into the woods. And we see these walkers that are on fire. And so they start running out there and they have axes and whatever. And which I thought was kind of crazy. Why wouldn't they give him the cattle prods or spears or something? But either way, he has an axe. And he has an axe for a reason. So he's running into the thing, and he's running to the woods, and he kills like 3 or 4 walkers before he gets away enough into the woods because he's trying to make an escape. So he goes there too, and he's like he's running as far as he can, and he goes all the way to the line, runs out, and he gets pulled back. And they're like, Grimes, stop. He's like, sorry, I'm looking for my axe. I don't know how the person could hear him. But either way, he goes in, he takes his belt off, and he puts his belt around the thing, and he has the axe kind of burning on one of the walkers. And the metal part, the blade. And he's about to cut his hand off. And he takes it up, and he thinks about it. I kind of wish they should have showed a shot of him looking at Carl, because it would be a perfect connection with that when he was told by Negan to cut his arm off, Carl's arm off, but he stops. It just would have been kind of cool that flashed into his mind. That doesn't happen, but I just thought it would be kind of cool. But again, I'm not a writer on the show. So then, boom, he's like, this is what it has to be. This is the only way out. Boom, chops his hand off. And he runs away, and he's like bleeding, and he's like, and he's like bleeding, and he's trying to get away, and walkers are around him still and doing this and that. And then he gets past the walker, and the guy runs after him, the CRM soldier. And he gets away, and he kills a walker by the tree, but he's bleeding, and he just looks around, and there's a walker that's on fire basically in his stomach. So then he puts his hand, his stump, and cauterizes it inside the walker. And then he tries to get up, and he's, Grimes, stop. And instead of shooting him, which probably would have happened, Rick should have died like multiple times because he tried to escape like 4 or 5 times. He should have just been killed. But he's Rick Grimes, so it's that. So either way, they tase him. He wakes up. You see the helicopter things. He's in and out of consciousness. He's in jail cell or whatever. He's back in his room. And he's got, the stump hand on there too. So then he's got to clear out walkers. And then it's Rick narrating stuff, which tells us a lot about the story because he's writing to Michonne. And he's writing in his notebook that he's hidden in a couch cushion. And he's got multiple phones with etchings on it. And he's got his face, or her Michonne, and this and that. So he's got a bunch of those. And then he's got notebooks that he's writing letters to Michonne. But he's hid it in a couch cushion, which is pretty smart. And he was writing stuff like, I tried to do this, I tried to do that, I tried to get away, but they stopped. We have to go outside the city that they're using for energy, and they're using for this, they're using for that. And you just get to learn about the CRM very well. And so we saw the part where they're banging on the things, and they're like, boom, 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 and all the walkers are coming towards them, and they're stabbing the walkers with the cattle prod things. And then you see Okafor, which is a lieutenant colonel, I believe. And he's like Rick's best friend that's basically keeping him alive because he sees that he can have help from him. And Okafor is a cool character. I like him a lot. That being said, spoiler alert, what do you think happens to Okafor? He dies. And not just like he dies, like, oh, maybe he lives. He explodes, which we find out in episode 2 how and why he explodes and what happens with these little like missile things. It's from Michonne and Nat, and that's in episode 2, I believe. But it's basically Rick's centric episode. So Rick's killing the walkers, doing this, blah, blah, blah. He doesn't have his left hand anymore, and the walkers are coming at him, and one kind of sneaks up on him. And then Okafor comes in and grabs the cattle prod. He's like, ugh, wish you had your left hand now, huh? And kills the walker with the cattle prod, and Rick gets up. And I like the way Okafor talks and just the way he is. And he's like, you see his back. I don't know. I just like the guy. And it sucks because he's dead. Hopefully we'll see him again in flashbacks or something with Rick a little bit in conversations over the time. But I don't know. It just sucks. One and done, possibly. So Rick and Okafor have a conversation and blah, blah, blah. And Okafor says, I'm going to try to... Okafor wants Rick to join the CRM in the military. But Rick says no, blah, blah, blah. And so ultimately, Rick is killing all these walkers, blah, 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 and turns down Okafor. And then I think there's a little montage part of it there where we see Rick's prosthetic. And so there were some clips going around where Rick's wearing like a black glove or something on his hand, but I don't know if it's metal or rubber or he's got more than ones, but to me it looks like the Detroit fist, the black fist. That's a piece of art that's hanging there. And it's a black piece of, thing that goes over his stump, and it's a prosthetic that's made like a fist over there. And then he also takes it down and it's like shing, and he takes out that he's got a blade. I think that's awesome. I don't want to give anything away from my book series, but there's something similar to that in my book series. But it's an awesome weapon. And so you find out about Rick and Okafor there too. And then Rick is out. Rick is outside of Philadelphia. So if you know anything about Philadelphia, there's Philadelphia. So right here is Philadelphia, the Delaware River, the Walt Whitman Bridge, and then New Jersey. So across the Delaware River, Rick is sitting on a bench looking across the river into Philadelphia, and he's there. And it's a great view. It's very nice. And it's definitely not like that in real life, I believe. I think there's like stuff in the way. But either way, this new character comes around and talks with Rick. And Esteban is his name. And he's already a fan. I don't know if he's a fan for it, but he's a favorite of mine because he's so funny. Like, he just seems like a regular dude. So he's like, man, and he looks at Rick. And he's like, oh, you did it. Like, you cut your hand off. can I touch it? Like, it's just like so funny. Like, they're good friends, and you see the backstory. Like, Rick didn't talk to anybody for years, and then he became friends with Esteban and blah blah. So there's little clues that Esteban talks about, that he has a friend inside the Civic Republic of Philadelphia that is like a writer, a journalist. So there's going to be something probably about that in the newspaper, and there's going to be some sort of way they can recruit people or show how bad the CRM is and what happens and blah, blah, blah. I'm guessing. But Esteban's going to go into the CRM because, again, you have to wait 6 years to go in there to actually become a citizen and become a person of there too. And so he's actually going in there tomorrow, and Rick's, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And they were talking about Rick and that, and, Esteban's like, hey, yeah, well, Okafor is not trying to get you in there, is he? And then Rick just looks at him and is like, oh, man, he is. So then Rick goes and talks to Okafor in this, like, greenhouse thing where he stays with a cot and these plants and whatever around him. And they're talking about this, and Okafor sees something in Rick, well, because he's Rick Grimes and he's important to the story. And also that it's a big thing about him having help and doing this. And then we find out the story about Okafor later on, that he was in the Air Force and that he bombed Atlanta, bombed Los Angeles, 2 spots in the Walking Dead universe, was going to bomb Philadelphia and then stopped and then bombed where Marines were. Ends up killing his wife that way because she was one of the people there at Lincoln Financial Field. That's where the Eagles play, in case you didn't know. And that's where people were there, and those 4,000 people there were going to attack the hundreds of thousands of people in the Philadelphia area, and Okafor stopped that. And so we find out Major General Beale talks with Rick because Rick he joins the CRM. And there's a lady there that you find out is Thorne. She's another character that's with Rick, and she's kind of captured, and she's this, and she's trying to work her way into it. And Okafor recruits her, too, to kind of join. So there's Okafor, Thorne, and Rick that are trying to work together. Well, Okafor is trying to turn Rick and Thorne to, like, help out and do stuff and make the CRM better and make it there, too, and basically rise up against things because it's kind of terrible from what they're doing. Carol asks Q&A, you think that contact might be Kanye? I don't know. I don't know anything about that, about stuff there too. So I don't know if other people are going to be showing up with from The Walking Dead. I would like to. I would love to see that too. I would like stuff to be. I would love to see answers about Heath, which I'm hopefully sure. I hope we're going to get stuff from Jadis, and then hopefully stuff from the World Beyond characters, and if they do anything with The Walking Dead. But we'll have to see about that too. So basically, Rick joins. He's training, and his training partner is Thorne, who used to be in the South African military or Marines or something. I forget, some sort of South African, military group that she can shoot, she can do stuff, and she tried to kill Okafor. Okafor has a scratch on his head. I don't know which side it is, but it doesn't matter because he dies. But he has a scratch on his head from a graze of the bullet that Navy, sure. Okay, great, Navy. So again, whatever. So Thorne has military experience, South African Navy, great. And then shoots at Okafor. We don't see that, but it said that too. So Okafor is helping Rick time and time again, and Major General Beale meets with Rick on that bench. So Rick's like training and running and doing this, and they all have, like, it's so funny. They have their sweatshirts with the 3 rings, and the things have the 3 rings, and everything has the 3 rings. You're like, it's so branded. It's hilarious. But either way, we know it's that. So Major General Beale sits down with Rick, and it says this and that, and how'd you do this? And we find out the story about Okafor because Major General Beale says it. And then Major General Beale looks at Rick and says, you don't have to answer this question, but is Okafor up to something? And Rick just gives him the look, and Major General Beale says no. And so Rick is good for just reading people, I guess, even though Rick sells it that he's not, but either way. So then they find out about Rick and blah, 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 and then Rick it says, he was trying to get away, and how'd you make it this far? Sacrifice and all that stuff too. So we get to see that meeting between them, which is pretty good. So then we see later on that Okafor and Rick and Thorne go to this hiding space to talk and to read and to train and, to kind of just be there. And all I know is that Okafor's outfit is very telling about our theory. If you know this channel, you know our theory. So I'll break it down in another video. But so Rick is basically trying to work his way to escape. His whole point is trying to leave, trying to escape. And throughout the episode, Rick is dreaming, and he's dreaming that he meets Michonne on a bench. And she has a different haircut, but it's Michonne. And they're talking, and they're this, and they're that. And then eventually Rick is, he's dreaming. It's not real. Rick has his hands, and he's talking to Michonne. And, it's all, symbolic. You're where you don't want to be. And, yeah, I'm okay, blah, blah, blah. And, they still haven't found each other. And they're working on that, working on that. And then Rick has a pizza box. And Michonne shows up, and they talk. And then later on, there's, a fire. Then Rick tells the story of what's going on with the fire and stuff. So you see the symbolism that Rick he kind of gave up stuff with Michonne at the end. Because he kept trying to escape. And there's one, last big effort to escape. But, and I'll talk about that in a second. But basically, Rick gives up the phones and burns them and the letters and burns them and just is giving up. And he's full force CRM. He's a pilot, which we kind of thought was kind of funny early on, but he's a pilot with one hand, a helicopter pilot. And it's just kind of telling, but the way the episode ends, it's a little there. But we'll talk about that too. So either way, Rick tries to come up with an idea to escape. And so, again, he's a member inside Civic Republic of Philadelphia now, right? So he goes and he finds this map of the Gen KLR something, some chemical plant that they're going to go onto a run. And he figures out, okay, I have to go through here to get under here to lift up this grate, or he calls it a manhole or whatever, but it's basically a grate. And he's going to go under there to escape, to go out that way. So he's still trying to escape. Right? And he goes and talks to Esteban. And Esteban's like, whoa, what are you doing here? It's not this. It's not furlough day. It's not that. Oh, you joined. Oh, wow. So they talk, and he puts the thing down because Esteban is a manager, higher level water works guy thing, whatever, with the pipes, and knows whatever. He has some position that he knows the area, knows about things. He's one of the higher up people in the area of I'm blanking on what it is, but he knows how the plumbing and the stuff around there. So he knows that waste management, water management, whatever it's like that too. He's in part of. And so Rick shows him the piece of paper that he says what about this? What's under here? And Esteban's like, oh man, what are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. Well, I know that I would definitely not tell you that it goes east. And I definitely would not say that there's a padlock there with the numbers 4399. And I definitely would not say it. And he's like, I definitely wouldn't say it, but he's helping him. He's like, all right. But I definitely would not do worth it to have you killed. I definitely would not want you killed. So Esteban's a good friend. And it's awesome. Yeah, water, waste management. Thank you, Nick. There too. So. But he's higher up with that, so he knows about the pipes and the plumbing and whatever stuff too. So Rick comes up with a plan where he kills a walker and then puts it in a CRM military gear outfit. And his plan is to go there with his people, Thorne and his group, and he's gonna get away from the group, put the walker down, leave his dog tags there, gonna burn stuff up. Cut the arm off so then we know it's Rick's, so it's going to portray the Rick body type of thing. Kind of like the Gregory face head thing from, there too. Again, there's these callbacks. And so he comes up with a plan and is about to do it and puts the bullet on the thing and pulls the manhole cover up, and he's about to leave. and he gets bit by a walker on his clothing that you can't really bite through. So he was safe. I'll probably make a video. The people think he actually got bit. But he kills the walker and kills another walker. And then he's about to throw the grenade. And there's a little girl there. And she's like, ah! And he's like, oh, crap. And he drops the grenade down the manhole thing and gets up, kills the walkers, blah, blah, blah. And then Thorn kills the last remaining walkers. And there's a little girl there. So Rick can't get away, and Thorn's like, what are you doing? I saw the whole thing. What are you trying to do? Blah, blah, blah. And Rick's like, look, I asked you for help. Please help me. And she's like, look, he will kill you. He will come after you. You can't get away. This can't be done that way. So Rick keeps trying to get away. So it's making sense. Like, he's trying to get back, but he can't. So then Thorn talks him out of it, and they have to go back to there too. And where Rick is staying, it just looks like an old assisted living place. Like, it just looks like stuck in the 70s. Like, it looks terrible. But Rick's in his room and he's drinking, and Thorn comes in and says, I got to show you this. Turns on the TV, and they're talking about Omaha being bombed. So basically a connecting point with the world beyond. And so if you saw that stuff, it kind of connects here, and then you see a reporter talking about blah, 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 and it was this and that, and then Thorn has this whole conversation about, like, oh, that the girl that we saved, her parents were this, and they lived in there, and this whole big story about it. And I'm like, all right, who cares? But whatever, unless she comes back around again. So then Thorn and Rick are kind of like working together, but not, and Thorn's trying to keep him alive, and whatever. Then she like breaks a glass, and previously she threw a bottle or something and broke a glass bottle or whatever thing at Rick's feet. So she likes to throw glass around, but she breaks a glass, and I believe that's the piece of glass that Rick tries to kill himself with. So then the beginning of the episode goes all the way to there, and then it gets caught up, and Rick is looking at the things, and we see the stuff on the screen. So it kind of catches us up. The beginning is to there, and so the piece of glass, I'm guessing, is from the glass that Thorn drops or threw down to break. So he's going to like slit his throat, but then he stops and thinks about it. And then the next scene is Rick and Okafor in a helicopter. And Rick's piloting the helicopter. He's flying the thing too. So Okafor looks over at Rick and is like, yeah, you've been quiet. I don't know what's going through your head. I can't really read you, blah, blah, blah. So Rick tells Okafor this story about Rick's dad being a farmer, basically, and then Rick was 7 years old and walked down the steps, and there was a fire there, and, Rick was scared, but then Rick's dad took him away from the house and told him the story that, it's okay. Rick's dad got badly burned because of the fire, and the crops were going up and blah, blah, blah. And then years later, they found out that the dad set the fire on the crops in the barn. They got a new farm, and they got a new house, and they got a new barn. They got all the new stuff. And I guess it was the insurance money. So he committed insurance fraud. But he did that to save the house and to save the farm and to save the family, and they saved them. And then Okafor's like, did he survive? And he's like, yeah, he was good. And he did all these things too. So, and it was just a cool conversation. And Okafor is like, yeah, you're going to work your way up, blah, blah, blah. You're doing good here. And, you're working your way up to the upper echelon. And Rick said, he's in now. He's buying into it. He's doing all that. Like, remember when he burned the phones and burned the paper, the letters. Oh, and also we find out before that, Rick, sorry, I jumped ahead of this, but it's kind of a big moment where Rick has he leaves after he tries to escape, and Thorn says he knows you. He knows your information. He knows this. Rick goes into Okafor's greenhouse thing and has the knife, his wrist knife, on Okafor's throat. He wakes him up. They talk. Okafor found the green bottle. So he's the one that found the green bottle and read it. He found the notes. He found the boots. He found the stuff. He found all the stuff on the actual ship and stuff, and found that, he found stuff. So he checked it out. I don't know how there's a connection with Virgil, but maybe Virgil shows up. I don't know, but that's just a guess right now. So because that would connect with Michonne's last episode and stuff, so it would kind of connect. So if anyone's going to show up from The Walking Dead, it would probably be Virgil. It makes the most sense. But I'm not saying he will. It's just my guess. So Okafor and Rick actually fight. Rick punches him in the face and does this. And I just love how Okafor, the actor, sells it. He's like, whoa. He's bleeding and whatever. And he's then you find out the story about the bombing and all this stuff too. And they fight. And he flips him and he punches him and he does this and they go back and forth. And then Rick, he has the knife. He cuts Okafor's forearm. He has it there too. And Okafor gets up and grabs the gun. And he's got a gun on Rick. And Rick is he puts it on his head. And he's like, just do it. Just take me out. Rick is just over. He wants to be taken out. He's going through hardships. He doesn't want to do this anymore. He's tried to get away, go up 0-2 again too. So we'll see, Brian. It's just my guess. We'll see if that is happening there too. So Brian asked Q&A, so why was Rick valuable in World Beyond? He wasn't in World Beyond. I don't know what you're talking about. But so the big thing with Okafor and Rick is that they were building this bond, setting it up, doing the talking there, blah, blah. And then Okafor's like, yep, I don't know how this is going to turn out. They're in the helicopter and they're flying. And it's there's kind of a lull in conversation. And he's like, I don't know how this is going to work out, but you're doing this, blah, blah, blah. And also, before that, Thorne and Rick are sent away to go take out these walkers and have this. I don't know. I couldn't really understand where it was in the if it was in the Cascades or something. I think he says if it's it was a college, but you see this piece of glass there. It's a opening with a spot that's a command center area, and then you see where it transitions from Rick and Thorne and CRM soldiers killing walkers, and then the behind it is woods and whatever, and then they make it a base. Catskill Mountains. Thank you, Jason. So then you see the mountains there. So I'm guessing that's where they go with the helicopters with stuff. The people are saying Yellowstone and stuff. Maybe they still do, but we'll have to see if that's true or not. But it just looked like mountainous stuff, and you see there too, they build up a base, and they have helicopters landing, and all this stuff's happening, and you see time that's going by. They're there for a year. And so they build it up, do this. They have laptops and they got stuff and they're writing up plans. And Rick is working his way up, and he becomes so they have their base and they have their operations. They have all their stuff there. So they build it up over the year, and he works his way up. So he's part of that upper echelon stuff. He's working his way up and doing that. But the episode ends with this thing that flies into Okafor's chest. And boom, he's like, oh, and it's shocking because it's dead quiet. Thank you, Zach Pope says, hey, I always try to show my support when I catch you live. Been a supporter for the channel for a long time and love what you do. Keep up the great content. Thank you, Zach. I appreciate it for the super chat, live chat. It's awesome stuff. We truly appreciate it, Zach. It's awesome. Thank you for the support, all the too. So yes, Jason, we know that Nat shoots it because you saw episode 2. So. But more on that later. We don't know that in this episode. So that's a nice little spoiler for that too. So, but it comes out of nowhere. And so there's no way you would know who shot any of this stuff by watching this episode. So, yeah, Brian, they talk about A's and B's. So they talk about A's are leaders or this, but not really, Brian, because he says that A's are taken away and then they're killed. B's are this and that. So they talk about A's and B's. So they expand that a little bit, but it's not really expanded there too. So Thorne and Rick were A's, and they were supposed to be dead, but Okafor saved them and this and try to work them up. So those 2 A's that are left around, because we know in World Beyond that A's were test subjects and they were killed, and they were. So like I said, so back to the conversation in the helicopter. Rick's flying it, and then boom, all of a sudden this thing flies through the helicopter and hits Okafor in the chest and pierces him. And he's bleeding and whatever, and it's this weird thing. And then all of a sudden, boom, Okafor explodes and blood goes all over inside the helicopter. And Rick's like, whoa, what the? It's just crazy. It's just shocking. So then Rick goes down. The helicopter goes down. Sorry, someone's knocking at the door for some reason. And the helicopter goes down, and then he goes for the they get their rifles and they put their gear on and they're walking around and they're in the woods now. So Rick's alive with his 4 or 5 CRM soldiers, and they go and you hear this whistling. It's like, and it's like really crazy. And so Rick puts his gear on, and two of the soldiers, they fly out of nowhere, and Rick's running, and then boom, another one flies up, and then Rick's like laying there in the leaves, and he's like crawling, and he's going, and then you see this person who's like a weapon. It's Michonne, and it's like a sword and whatever. She's got different gear on, and she's like lifting up the mask of people and slitting their throat, and then walking over to another one, slitting their throat, and then she comes over to Rick, and Rick grabs his rifle and tries to twist towards Michonne. Stuff gets knocked out. Rick's at that'd be awesome if it was Rick at the door. But maybe it's Gimple. He's like, stop. No, I'm just kidding. So then he comes at it. She kicks the thing away. She's about to slit his throat, and she lifts up the thing, and it's Rick. And she stops a little too fast, but we know that it's a big deal. And so Rick, Michonne, they see each other, and they're looking at each other, and that's it. That's how the episode ends. But now, I'm going to see if I missed anything in there too. Because they talk about A's and B's a little bit. They talk about stuff too. So, Rick loses his hand in like the first... Well, I wouldn't say like first 5 minutes, because the first opening is like Rick and Michonne and this and the bridge blowing up and stuff happening there. And then Rick looking out and the opening credits. And then the fire stuff there too. So it's like in the first 10 minutes of the episode for sure. Rick cuts his own hand off too. So... that'd be awesome if I was like, yeah, right, too. Write for the show. I would love to. I would love to write for The Walking Dead. That'd be amazing. Or I would truly love for Fight for Us to become a series. That would be my true passion. But, so that's how the episode ends. And then you see next week's episode. It's really focused on Michonne. And Michonne has her gear, and she fires the things into the projectile thing into the sea of walkers. Remember that? So it connects at the end of The Walking Dead. Blows up the walkers in this. And we see Nat, who's the little guy, the little person with Michonne. We see Aiden and Bailey. And we see... so it's basically the Michonne stuff. So from what I've seen... Sorry, Brian asked Q&A. Why do they do consign district? I want to see the main city. We will. We will definitely see more of the main city for sure. BJ Logan, I want your show to be... I'll take anything, animated or real. But I wouldn't mind doing animated and then live action. That'd be pretty awesome. Vincent, do you think Alexandria will get bombed in the finale? No, I don't think so. I think Rick... So, like, my big thing is that, like, if Rick and Michonne are trying to get away, which they obviously are, that Rick has to lead them away. But Jadis knows about Alexandria. Jadis knows stuff. So if we think that Jadis could not go bomb them, they easily could. Like, why not, right? Like, so what are you talking about? Maybe that's a point of emphasis. Maybe, I don't know what they're going to do. But Jadis is still a big figure here, too. So for what I've seen in episode 2, I'm guessing it's episode 2, is that Nat is the little guy. He has a lighter, and he's all about setting things there, too. But he's firing the things that are whistling, like whatever they are. It's like a spear-tipped explosive thing. And he's got a thing where he puts his arm into it, and he's like, and he fires it from like his forearm. And he fires into the thing, and the first one he's like, it's a dud. But evidently it goes into the actual helicopter, into Okafor, and explodes. Then he fires another one, hits the tail of the helicopter, fires another one, and it goes down. And Rick's in the helicopter. So then we see Michonne and Nat goes down. And then we see it gets caught up with Michonne, with Rick, and they're, we see the point there. And then Nat's like, is it him? Is he still like good? He's not brainwashed or whatever? And Michonne's like, yeah, it's him. And then Nat's looking, and Nat dies. So Okafor comes and goes one episode. Nat comes and goes in one episode. And you're like, oh, my God. And then I believe before that, there's a helicopter that comes in, because we see a helicopter come and go. And they leave, and Rick's like, I don't care what's going on. I don't care why they take bombs away. They take the bombs there, and they don't come back with them. What are they bombing? What are they doing? What's going on? Rick's like, I don't care about any of that. Well, evidently, they're using like napalm or gas or something there, too, because they talk about Atlanta that was bombed by napalm. So there's some sort of chlorine gas, I believe, that is like yellow. And there's a spot where you see Michonne, and she's running with Bailey or Aiden. I'm not sure. It might be Aiden is the girl. And there's the man and woman that Michonne finds in season 10 of The Walking Dead. That the helicopter is going over there and kind of comes back around, and we see that they drop the yellow chlorine gas. And so she's like, scatter, and they're running, and they're covering their mouth and whatever. And I'm pretty sure that Aiden and Bailey both die too. That's in next week's episode or whatever episode. I'm guessing that's next week's episode. So, but you get to meet Nat and Bailey and Aiden and Michonne and this. So it's that kind of story next week. And so it's kind of crazy to see how they're doing it, but then stuff gets caught up. And then I believe that Rick has to take Michonne hostage because that's the only way, that she has to use a different name. She can't say who she is. She can't call them walkers because that's what Rick calls them. They can't have anything that they know each other. And so Rick has to take her in to the CRM, and the helicopter comes down, and that's what Michonne's eyes are looking at, where she's like smiling and kind of whatever because she found Rick. But she's also in danger now, too, like what's going to happen. And then I believe she's taken prisoner and interrogated, and then she's given a CRM jacket, and that's what we see her in with the jeans and the CRM jacket, and she's got to work her way up for the 6 years to kind of do what Rick did. But she's kind of starting from the bottom like that. And then I think the episode ends, from what I've seen, is Rick goes and talks with Jadis. And Jadis is like, what the F are you doing, Rick? And so I think that's how next week's episode ends, or is around there from what I've seen. Again, I haven't seen the whole episode. I've seen different clips and stuff too. So Kara asks, someone said Bailey was from the Maine. I don't remember him. Who was he? Well, no, Bailey is the black guy. It was like, what's his name? He's a social media person or whatever. King Bach or Batch or Bach or Bay or whatever his name is. But he is on The Walking Dead, Michonne's last episode. He's the guy that's there too. So that's Bailey and Aiden. They're the guy and girl that were Michonne's last episode. Yeah, King. That's his name, yeah. And I want to say it's like Batch or Bach or whatever, but I'm probably saying it wrong. And I'm probably butchering his name, and I apologize. But I know that's his real name out there too, so. Bernard says, love your content, PT. Is that it's really only 6 episodes right now that we just know it's 6 episodes. So Rick and Michonne find each other in the first episode. And then it's kind of back and forth, and they play with time a little bit. So they do with like 5 years after the bridge. It jumps around a little bit. And then it says now, right when Rick's in the helicopter with Okafor. So I don't know what now means. Like now? Like when is now? Is it the same time that Negan and Maggie are in New York? Because that'd be pretty interesting. I would love for stuff to come together. And I don't know if it is. My wife and I were talking about this. I don't know if it means that Rick is going to... I would love to see Rick have reunions and interactions with a lot of people. Right? And Negan being one of them. Of course, Judith, RJ, he needs to meet RJ, Daryl, Carol, Morgan, all those people. But then I want to see him be reunited with Negan. And I would love to see Negan and Rick. I don't know. I just would love to see that. But one of the things I caught too is that Rick slices Negan's throat, or cuts his throat, or whatever you want to call it, with the stained glass that's broken. And Rick was going to end his life, not by stained glass, but a glass. A piece of glass, kind of the same way, but he stops himself. So, there's little callbacks, connections, Easter eggs that I saw there too, and then also, our theory that we do here on this channel is definitely supported in this first episode. But then I'll be talking about that in another video this week. But overall, it's really good. It was like awesome to see Rick, like just him talking and being, I'm like, that's Rick Grimes, man. That's our guy. Like Andy Lincoln is such a big powerhouse in this. And it's cool because he's a co-creator. He's listed as an executive producer. He stars in it. I think the story is by Gimple, Denai Guerrera, and someone else. So like they're so involved with it, and good for them, Good for them that the writers are the actors and the actors are the producers. And like, it's so awesome to see that, Like that's why I love to see the story of Sylvester Stallone is like he wrote Rocky and he starred in it and he didn't back down from it. And that changed his life. What if he sold the script? He wouldn't be as rich and as successful as he is now. Maybe, but I doubt it. He had all these movies and all this stuff and all this craziness. And it opened up so many different doors for him too. And it's just like awesome to see Rick and Michonne. And Michonne, Rick and Michonne are reunited in the episode. And then we see the dream sequences with Rick and talk to Michonne on the bench and everything. And it's just cool. Like, it's just a cool thing to see Rick and Michonne. And I liked Okafor, but he's gone. And Thorne is okay. I just feel like Thorne is going to be the person that really helps Rick get away. Like, new characters like Okafor, Thorne, Nat, Esteban, whoever else comes around. Like, I feel like Bailey, Aiden, they're the type of characters that serve their purpose and get the main characters what they need to have, where they need to be, to get them on their way. They're stepping stones. They're stepping blocks. They're just pieces of it that way. And so they're probably going to die. Just like a lot of characters in Dead City. Not so much the Daryl Dixon show, because they basically all lived, but a lot of characters on Dead City were the same way. And so we'll have to see, what happens going forward with... I really hope... Like, I don't need a second season of The Ones Who Live, but I hope there's just more story to tell with Rick and Michonne. Because it's a great start. To me, it didn't feel rushed or bad or this, but I could see where that would have been like the halfway point of the first movie, because I still think it would have been 3 movies. The first 2 episodes of the first movie, 3 and 4 are the second movie, and 5 and 6 were the third movie, and it just works with the midway point of the movie, which would have been 55 minutes in, would have been Rick and Michonne reuniting. And then doing whatever that to finish up the movie, the second half, the second act, or whatever it would be. Like it just works. It was just good. Like the writing of it was very cool. I don't know if they changed things or switched things or whatever, or had to mix it up a little bit because Michonne really is a big factor of the show too. But it's awesome. Like I really enjoyed the first episode, and hopefully you did too. And setting up the second episode with things, it just works. So I like where we're going with it. I like the idea of it. It didn't really have any lull moments or like, wow. I mean, yeah, some things were like, okay, so Rick runs away and he's not tethered by his stomach or core or abs or trunk or whatever you want to call it, or his foot. He was tethered by his left hand so he could chop that off kind of thing. And it's just... He's also killing walkers with the same thing. He, cuts into it. He cuts his hand off, but then does he really burn it off with the walker that's on fire? Then he cauterizes it with the, so it's, yeah, Tim. So Henry Winkler was good friends with, so I watched this reality show with Sylvester Stallone, like Growing Up Stallone or something. What's called the Stallone Show. And Henry Winkler and Sylvester Stallone are good friends because they were in a movie together called The Lords of Flatbush. And when Stallone came to Los Angeles, his car breaks down. He calls Henry Winkler, who picks him up. And Henry Winkler sets up meetings and stuff for the script of Rocky, that it's there too. So, but it was pretty cool. There's a lot of good stuff about it too. There's a lot of good stories about Henry Winkler and Sylvester Stallone that a lot of people don't know about too. So, all right, guys. I appreciate it. Yeah, Jeannie says cauterizing the wound with the flame, kills the germs to death. Yeah, no, for sure. But I mean, it would be in his bloodstream. Like, he killed like 4 or 5 walkers. It'd be anyway, who cares? It's what it is. I'm not trying to figure this out. Either way, they're all infected or whatever, and Rick's clearly there and doing well too. So there you go, guys. I'm excited to talk about this show. Have some new videos coming up. This hour went super fast like it usually does. And we're there. We're on our way. The first episode is done. There's going to be at least 5 more, but we'll have to see where it goes. And again, guys, if you can like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff, check me out on Amazon. You can follow me on there as an author and all that good stuff. Fight for Us is my book series, and we appreciate it, guys. So Carly is a fan from the UK. Awesome, Carly. Hopefully you guys can see it. I know some people were talking about UK was having problems. I don't know if AMC Plus works there or whatever, but so I'm going to probably do my review. Either I'll post it tonight or tomorrow, but I'm excited to talk about it, and we'll see where it goes. And also the episode is titled Years. So thank you, guys, because it jumps a little bit over the years. So thank you, guys. I'll be back next week to talk about season 1, episode 2, and all that stuff that be anything news about the Walking Dead universe. And remember, guys, with hard work, dedication, belief, and sacrifice, you can truly achieve your goals. Believe in yourself, you can do it. I'll be back next Sunday. Enjoy the episode tonight if you haven't seen it, and I'll see you guys. See ya.